On today's video, we're back to Lost Kingdom 135, and this time, at the bottom, Kingdom 279 in purple doing work against 311 in orange. They have the map, they've been pushing hard, 311 trying to push back unsuccessfully, but things might get ugly very quickly as 279 keep pushing through and making the map look purple. Some weaknesses appear, and boy oh boy, things might turn out really badly for them. If you guys like these kinds of videos when we cover Lost Kingdom, we cover wars, talk about strategy, flagging, and all that good stuff, make sure you're slapping a like on the video and of course subscribing to the channel. Sit back and enjoy the commentary. Hey there YouTube, welcome back to Gekko Gaming. Today we're back to purple against orange with a little bit of yellow along the way. Last time we left off at this flag right here. As yellow, we're starting to put a little bit of presence down at the bottom. You guys need to keep an eye on this frozen frame right now. Remember that empty area on the top left. That empty area is going to be crucial in the future. As you guys can see, orange is getting pushed back really hard. Purple has all over the map, presence everywhere. But there are a lot of very dangerous empty holes, including that one on the top left by the pass. Remember that. That's going to be a huge part of this storyline later on. For now, orange are ahead in the sense that this is the time when 279 and purple are the least active. These guys have a lot of American presence, which is why while I slept, these guys put in most of the work. And when I'm awake, it's really tough to catch them doing the grunt part of the work. The thing about this is yellow all of a sudden started showing interest up here, and they have been very unsuccessful at pretty much doing anything. Every flag they were burning up to that point was unsuccessful. They were trying to burn, and even if they burned them, it was because TT or the folks of purple allowed them to. The reason for that was obviously, as I mentioned in the previous video, which if you haven't seen it, card up on the top right, this war wasn't the only frontier the yellow folks were fighting. At this point in time, yellow were still very, very invested up on the top and putting very little of their resources here at the bottom. But they were still showing some presence, including locking a pass in their favor. As you saw, they have a pass that is fairly well surrounded with yellow flags. So while they were trying to put some pressure on purple, purple were really having an easy time with this. While this was going on, slowly and steadily, the folks in purple, 279, started waking up, and the offensive on their favor started happening, and we really started seeing them push back orange even further. One of the things that is, in my opinion, a small mistake that a lot of people make in Lost Kingdom is they try to secure the next pass. I mean, the bottom line is we want to get to that next zone. We want to get to zone 6, zone 7, so forth and so on. So more often than not, kingdoms and alliances make the choice to drop forts in forward positions that they seem to think they will lock passes in their favor. But that's not always the case. I believe that when we fought JWM and I was in Kingdom 58 on the first Lost Kingdom, JWM did pretty much the same. But as you learn through your Lost Kingdom, you realize that those forts are really insignificant if you cannot control the whole area. In JWM's case, of course, they did. But in this case, orange is having a really tough time holding on to their exit out of their zone 4. And so as yellow, we're trying to punish this flag again and again. And we're watching this flag being punished again and again. It burned once or twice, but more often than not, the losses were much more severe for the folks in yellow. They did do damage, don't get it wrong. There are some of these reports that are very good on their favor, but they weren't able to continually keep doing the damage, and eventually they started taking a bigger beating than they were hitting anything. Back to orange. So orange's task right now is try to stay in zone 5 for dear life. And their decision was that they will be dropping forts in the upper area of that zone 5. If you visualize the map, unfortunately, I cannot do that for you at this stage. You can see massive losses for the folks of NGU, by the way. That bottom area has where 279 is at, and it has where 313 come from. And there are 2 passes at the bottom area going towards the bottom zone 6. And then there are 2 passes going towards the right zone 6. That top pass secured by yellow, and orange wanted to secure their own pass to that top area. Their ideal part was we are going to try to go up to that zone 6 and help 313 even further against 289. And once that happens, 291 can come in. Those are the kingdoms that we saw fighting previously. 289 being allied of purple, and 291 being allied of orange and yellow, who are allies. At this point, orange had a very, very strong position in the center area, trying to they dropped 2 forts. They started flagging their way down. They started trying to build a buffer. But it seems that they knew something that we didn't. I guess they knew the fact that 313 were coming to help. They realized at some point that the fight happening between yellow, blue, and green up on the top was very unsuccessful, and that if yellow come down to help orange, they can defeat the folks in purple. Now, the folks in purple are not an Imperium kingdom, meaning they're not a top 32 kingdom in terms of the power of the top 100 members in that kingdom, while the folks in orange and yellow are. I believe that after all of this shebang, the folks in yellow dropped off of Imperium status. They dropped off of top 32, but I'm not entirely sure, so don't quote me on that one. So a double rally by purple. Orange trying to counter rally one of these rallies, but the rally doesn't care. The flag keeps getting smacked, and orange is not letting this flag go. Double rally out the wazoo, counter rally on the rally, and this flag is holding like a boss. While all this was going on, it seems like yellow were slowly starting to decide whether they want to fight the harder frontier up on the top, or they want to dabble with the bottom frontier, which seemed to them a bit easier. And so, as orange were defending for dear life these flags and all of this situation, and purple was doing everything they could, orange could simply not hold on. And with every flag that purple cut off, orange had massive losses. People got zeroed. People got hit left and right. Tier 5 zeroed. Tier 4s zeroed. Farms zeroed. 10 million players zeroed. 50 million players zeroed. 40 million players zeroed. 58 million players zeroed. Every single one of these folks took a beating. And you guys know that we're here to watch it. So we got a few rallies on their way here. And as you guys enjoy the rallies, the damage, and the zeroings, let's keep talking strategy. The point in all this situation was that the folks in yellow had a massive advantage, as I pointed out in the last video. They have the option to go up and down, and wherever they decide to go, they face a 2v1 in their favor. However, the folks up on the top, with green pretty much getting knocked out, and the folks in blue up on the top doing massive work, yellow decided to go for the easier frontier. As they slowly crept their way forward, it seems that the folks in purple lost the eyes on... They took their eyes away from the ball. What I mean by that is they were doing unbelievable things. Like, look at this guy. They're zeroing 2 people at the same time. That's double rallies by LFAM. 2 folks getting knocked out. Thea, by the way, managed to shield after a couple of rallies. Took a few deaths. A good amount of deaths. But did shield. The guy next to her getting hit right there. Not so lucky. 58 million power. Gone. Out the window. Zeroed out. Lots of tier 5s. Toasted. We'll see a few of the reports in a bit. But anyway, the way purple took their eyes away from the ball is that they kept looking for fights rather than solidify even further their hold on the map. Now, as you saw in the beginning, they had so much of the map that you think to yourself, there's really no way they would lose this, right? They have so much control over the field, and there's a very little sliver up on the top area which hasn't been reached yet. But because of the way they flagged things, purple left a lot of big empty holes, which gave opportunities for yellow to strike. Now, one of the mechanics that I don't understand why isn't it used more is the obvious ability to drop forts anywhere in the Lost Kingdom. Now, a fort will take 4 hours, whatever time, 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever to build. But the moment you drop a fort, it's kind of like a beacon. Like, yo, you should come to me. What Yellow ended up doing is they found a very, very good spot to drop a fort. We're not going to talk about that further in this video, but perhaps we will, but in the next video tomorrow, which will show you a lot of things that happen. If you go into the map right now of Lost Kingdom 135, you're going to be like, Gekko, you are high out of your mind. Purple are destroyed. What are you talking about? We're going to get to that part of the story, but for now, what you need to know is that the mechanic of dropping forts at a random location is a very deadly one. And if it's used correctly, it can knock out a kingdom from being in so much control like the guys in purple were, out straight back into zone 4. We're going to cover that strategy and cover that mechanic in more depth tomorrow. For now, let's get back into the action that is on the screen right now. So these guys are getting zeroed left and right. Resources being plundered. That's Thea's rally right there. 543,000 deaths is not something pretty. You'll see in a moment that thankfully for her, she managed to, I believe that's a she. If not, I apologize. You'll see the burning in a moment turning into a shield. And as the other individual right next to her, there's the shield right there, popped up. But that other guy, oh my goodness, the deaths keep coming. This is a later report already with him with very little of his tier 5s remaining. He had much more than that and much more tier 4s. But the burnage and zeroage was inevitable. It was unbelievably inevitable. And again, down to 50 million power once more. A rally comes in. These guys are ready. If you guys don't know what's happening here, why are there so many marches waiting? The way this works is when you burn a city, you can take resources away from it. As you can see, all of these marches are waiting for the city's health to drop below half. Once that happens, the city is so weak that all these armies joining the fight, they're joining the same level of troops. So all the slightly woundeds of that battle still apply to all those other marches, which means the rally takes a massive amount of damage and does massive amount of damage. And all those sieges come in at the end to be part of the burning phase, and that will help them plunder resources. So essentially, you do not have to zero someone to empty them out resources-wise. All you need to do is to wait right next to the city, and once he is under 50% based on his power. If the individual is a very strong player, you might want to wait till he's red or even very, very little red. You really don't want to take that much damage with your sieges. But once it's safe enough based on what you think to hit it, you hit it with a full siege march, just like these guys are going to do in a bit, and you plunder resources pretty much for very, very little to no losses. This area was one flag that when it got cut off, 3 flags became inactive. And when those 3 flags became inactive, there was even a 120 million power player online in there, but he got online and these guys didn't want to risk trying to hit a 120 million power player that's online, let's be real. But as you can see, the hold of purple was so good, they managed to push orange back all the way. Except for those forts, which you saw up on the top, which we're going to go take a look at right now, being built, and yellow kind of trying to protect those forts. Yellow came in to help out orange, build like a barrier around the forts, and now 2 forts are being dropped in an attempt to hold on to ground in zone 5. This is what we were talking about previously. Now, because there was so much open space in here, the folks in purple dropped 2 forts as well, but in my opinion, those forts were a bit too far back, especially LFAMs. LFAM could have definitely dropped their fort further up a few flags and really cut themselves away from building as many flags as they did. And right now, the frontier was right here. Yellow was starting to show more presence, to the point where they even had rallies marching towards zeroing people from 279 in purple who were on the wrong alliance territory. Remind you, you can port to any alliance territory in Lost Kingdom. However, you are only safe in your own alliance territory. So these guys that are in purple territory might be in the wrong alliance, and therefore they are zeroable. As you can see, the forts built, the flags came down, and now the pressure was on, and it was on by the guys in purple and orange and yellow who were in there with double and triple rally capabilities. People got zeroed, flags were rallied, double rallied, single rallied. This is where the folks of yellow and, well, this is PIX from 311 in orange, but the folks in yellow as well came in for the fight. Double rally, DSN coming in here for the flag, and the folks in yellow coming in for a flag as well. This is the beginning of what was, in my opinion, one of the most unfortunate turn of events in the favor of, against really, the folks in purple. Up in the top area, what happened was a very relatively well-controlled situation. Yeah, the folks in green had a lot of that area, but they were very contained, while the folks in yellow had a decent area but were contained, and blue slowly and steadily worked their way through that 2v1. I don't believe that blue were out of control at any time. But this is where the table started turning, and it seemed that purple were slowly losing control. Remind you that those forts of theirs required at least 3 flags to start getting to that frontier, and then more flags to get to the top, which means that if each side trades a flag, orange is getting closer, because truthfully for orange, they're trying to build as much of a gap as possible, while purple are trying to get there. So if they can trade to get to a point where orange drops that second flag first and holds on, they can build a 2-flag buffer for themselves, which would be huge, huge, huge. When that started happening, purple started losing control of the territory. And at this point, you're going to start seeing that LFAM wanted to start going around to try to get away from this frontier, let the folks in Titans, let the folks in Pokemon handle this frontier and hold on against orange, who are now at their peak attendance. They're in here with plenty of forces. TT and Pokemons are just trying to hold on right now, and LFAM tried to build around. The problem for them was that yellow decided to go all in, and when they decided to go all in, they started being a real nuisance. As you can see, there's a yellow flag right there that's close to this flag, which means that they can rally it. They can definitely help out orange, and they did. What do you do in this kind of a situation if you're purple? First and foremost, you now went from a 1v1, which you were very good and strong at, against a 2v1 where the situation might be a bit tougher. Because taking on one of the top 32 kingdoms is not the craziest, easiest thing on earth, but it's also not the hardest thing on earth if you do it correctly. But taking out 2 top 32 kingdoms when you are not one of those, that's a bit of a tough pill to swallow. Unfortunately for purple, things were going to get worse and worse. And in tomorrow's video, you're really going to see how things turned around and what was the key moment that turned all of this around. At this point, we were spectating on stream. We were live on stream watching this unfold live. And as you can see, LFAM are kind of working their way around this whole situation. But yellow are really starting to be annoying. Now yellow are rallying this flag. Yellow are putting in the effort as well. And yellow, who had that fortress that had that extended flag that extended to the side to where we are, started working their way down as well. In their positioning, I think more lucky than anything else, was really, really, really good. Because that fortress that yellow had was there for quite some time. They just got very lucky that the frontier ended up being that one, and their position was perfect. As you can see, purple are starting to burn. With yellow keeping them busy here, orange were burning the flags down below. And all of a sudden, purple, who were not on their top presence right now, who had to contest contend with one flag right now. Had to also take care of 3 other frontiers, and it got even much worse than that. It doesn't mean that purple didn't make a good play and are not strong. They pushed around the guys in orange, 311 and an Imperium Kingdom quite a bit. They did. But man, oh man, when yellow started getting involved, it just became one of those things where the attention of purple started getting distracted. And again, as I mentioned, they hadn't had their eyes on the ball because they didn't need to. They were so far ahead that by the time they did pay attention to what was going on, flags were burning everywhere. Yellow was being a pretty big pain in the butt. And to make matters worse, yellow was about to make a play that would change everything. A play we called on stream, by the way, and called it very well. Hopefully, well, maybe they took the idea from what we said, maybe not. I hope that, you know, I didn't have too much to do with all the situation. But remember that empty area, and remember what I said about dropping forts anywhere. Give that a little bit of thought, and give that situation a thought on how you can now get someone even more distracted to the point where they just don't know which frontier to go after. Did you already realize what happened? Yes. Yellow dropped a fort in a massively well strategically placed location and managed to build it. Purple couldn't build flags there fast enough, and when that fort dropped and the skillful craftsman alliance skill popped and those yellow flags started showing up everywhere, purple were in so much trouble. You'll see that in tomorrow's video, so make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit a like on the video. I'm Gekko, I'm out of here. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. If you found it informative, helpful, useful, and enjoyed it, make sure you let me know in the comments down below. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Discord, everything in the description as well. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you to 279, 311, and 313 for all the reports, all the information, and everything. And we'll see you guys in tomorrow's video about Lost Kingdom 135. See you there. Peace.